World narrows to a single breath. 247 meters downrange. 2 miles of impossible distance. Wind gusting 18 miles per hour. Heat mirage turning the valley into a shimmering lie. Sarah Mitchell's finger rests on the trigger. 3.5 pounds of pressure between now and everything that comes after. Through the Barrett scope she can see him. Marcus Brennan, the American traitor, ghost, who studied her grandfather's legacy for 20 years, who killed 15 soldiers, including Rebecca Torres. He's setting up his own shot, finding her in his crosshairs. 10 seconds, maybe less. Chief Cruz's voice cuts through. Urgent, desperate. He's got you. You've got maybe no time for perfect, only time for choice. Her grandfather's voice. Memory or ghost, doesn't matter. The hardest shot isn't the longest one, Sarah, knowing when to take it. 3 seconds of flight time ahead. 60 years of consequences behind. 15 American lives weighing on her shoulders. Her grandmother's face. Rebecca's mother. The legacy of mercy that created this monster. And one impossible question. Can mathematics defeat betrayal? Can a woman who learned to shoot at 8 years old in a Texas summer that smelled like gunpowder and her grandfather's spice, can she reach across 2 miles of Afghan sky and end this? Sarah exhales halfway between heartbeats. She squeezes. Barrett roars like God's own thunder, and the world holds its breath. The first bullet leaves the barrel at 2,750 feet per second. Sarah Mitchell watches it arc through the Afghan dawn, invisible to everyone but her. In her mind, she tracks every millimeter of its journey, climb through thin mountain air. The drift as crosswind catches the copper jacket. The inevitable pull of gravity drawing it earthward, toward a man who doesn't know he's already dead. 5 seconds of flight time. 5 seconds of perfect mathematics. The Taliban commander drops like a puppet with cut strings. Christ Almighty, Commander. Jack Hayes's voice cuts through the morning silence, rough as gravel. Where the hell did you learn to shoot like that? Sarah doesn't take her eye from the scope. Her finger moves with practiced efficiency, cycling the bolt on her Remington 700. Chambering the next round, even now, even with the target down, she scans for secondaries, for threats, for the next problem that needs solving. My grandfather, sir? Her voice is steady. Clinical Gunnery Sergeant William Mitchell, Marine Scout Sniper, Korea, November 1952. Hayes lowers his binoculars. 52 years old, 28 years in the teams. And he's just watched something he didn't think was possible. The rangefinder on his vest reads 1,850 meters, over a mile, wind conditions that would make most snipers pack up and go home. The woman beside him, 5'3". Blonde hair pulled back in a regulation bun. Green eyes constantly scanning, just made it look like target practice. Korea, Hayes knows that war. His own father served there. Came home with frostbite scars and stories he never told. Your grandfather must have been something special. He was. Sarah finally pulls back from the scope, her cheek bearing the slight impression of the stock. He taught me everything. Before he died, he made me promise I'd be better than good. He said good gets you killed in this job. Hayes studies her. Sarah Mitchell, 27 years old, Navy JTAC specialist, Joint Terminal Attack Controller. The person who coordinates airstrikes, calls in the cavalry, handles communications, a support role, a safe role. Except nothing about Sarah Mitchell fits that description. Pack it up. We've got a briefing in 30. Sarah's already breaking down her rifle. Movement smooth and automatic. Remington 700 disappears into its case like a secret being put away. Hayes watches her work. Thinks about the mission brief sitting on his desk back at FOB Hawkeye. An operation that's been haunting him for weeks. A target everyone says can't be reached. And a shot that might just have found its shooter. 2 years earlier. Texas. September 2009, the sky is that particular shade of blue that only exists in late summer. The kind of blue that makes everything underneath it feel small and temporary. Sarah stands in her dress uniform, navy whites crisp despite the heat, watching 6 Marines fold an American flag with mathematical precision. 1 fold, 2 folds, 3. The rifle salute cracks across the cemetery. 7 rifles, 3 volleys, 21 shots, for a man who'd spent his life making shots that mattered. Sarah doesn't cry. Not yet. Not here. Gunnery Sergeant William Mitchell wouldn't have wanted tears. He would have wanted her standing straight, eyes forward, honoring the protocol he'd spent 40 years upholding. The flag completes its triangle. A Marine, young, maybe 22, approaches her grandmother, Helen. Mitchell sits in a folding chair, 80 years old, spine still straight, hands folded in her lap. The Marine kneels, presents the flag. The words are ritual, formal. On behalf of the President of the United States and a grateful nation, Helen takes the flag, nods once. Thank you, son. Her voice doesn't shake, doesn't break. 78 years of being a Marine's wife. Then his widow. You learn how to hold things together. After. When the crowd has thinned, when the protocol has been satisfied, Helen stands, walks to where Sarah waits by the oak tree at the cemetery edge. Walk with me, sweetheart. They move slowly. Helen's pace measured, deliberate, not from weakness, from a lifetime of knowing that some conversations can't be rushed. Your grandfather left you something. She reaches into her handbag, pulls out a long wooden case, worn leather handle, brass clasps green with age, his rifle. The Remington 700, custom built, 1951, before Korea, before the war that would define him. Grandma, I can't. Yes, you can. Helen's voice is firm, final. He wanted you to have it. He made me promise. 2 years ago when the doctors told him about the cancer, he said Sarah understands, knows what it means. She produces something else, a leather journal, small, fits in a palm. The cover is cracked, softened by decades of handling. And this, his field notes, from Korea. He never showed anyone, not me, not the Corps. But he wanted you to read them. Sarah takes both items. The rifle case is heavier than she expected. The journal lighter. Why me? It's not really a question. But Helen answers anyway, because you're the only one who learned what he was really teaching. All those summers at the ranch, you thought it was about shooting, about distance and wind, idage, and all that mathematics he loved. Helen's eyes. Still sharp, still seeing everything. But it wasn't about that. Not really. It was about choices. About knowing when to pull the trigger. She touches Sarah's cheek, gentle, the way she used to when Sarah was 8 years old, and skinned her knees falling off the ranch fence. He chose mercy once. In Korea, it cost him everything, his rank, his reputation, nearly his freedom. But he never regretted it. Helen's hand drops. He wanted you to understand that. Before you have to make your own impossible choice. Afghanistan. Phobe Hawkeye. September Musla. Rose quarters are plywood and hope. 8 by 10 feet. A cot. A footlocker. A single bulb hanging from the ceiling that flickers when the generators cycle. She sits on the cot, laptop balanced on her knees. The screen glows in the dimness. Video call connecting. The buffering icon spins. Spins, spins. Then Helen's face appears, pixelated, choppy. But there's Sarah. Helen's voice carries that slight confusion. The thing that's been happening more often lately. The doctors call it early-stage Alzheimer's. Sarah calls it the thing she can't think about without her chest getting tight. Hi, Grandma. Is it morning there? Or night? I can never remember. It's evening, Grandma. 8 p.m., which means it's morning. 10 a.m. Texas time. Oh, Helen looks around at something off camera. Back your grandfather. Is he? Did he already leave for the base? Sarah's throat closes. Just for a second. Just long enough to hurt Grandma. Grandpa's gone. Remember the funeral. Helen's face shifts. Clarity returning, like someone adjusting a focus. Oh, Sarah, I'm sorry. Sometimes I forget. It's okay, Grandma. It's not okay. Helen's voice sharpens. I hate this. I hate forgetting him, forgetting you. Forgetting what's real and what's just. Old memories playing tricks. You're having a good morning. You recognize me right away. This time Helen's hands come into frame, folding and unfolding, the way they do when she's upset with herself. Tell me something good, something that helps me remember you're there. You're safe. Sarah glances around her plywood box, at the rifle case leaning against the wall, at the journal on her footlocker, open to an entry from November 1952. I used Grandpa's rifle today. Made a shot he would have been proud of, saved some lives. He would be proud. Helen's smile is soft, real. He always said you had the gift, not just for shooting, for understanding why it matters. They talk for 20 more minutes. Helen's clarity fades in and out. At one point, she asks if Sarah has finished her homework, thinks she's talking to teenage Sarah. Sarah doesn't correct her, just says, "Yes, Grandma." All finished when the call ends. When Helen's face disappears, replaced by the blue screen and the call ended message. Sid in the silence stares at the journal entry, November 14th, 1952. Made the longest shot on 86 yards. Enemy spotter, North Korean. Enemy dead with Chinese forces. Had him dead to rights in my scope, 18 years old maybe. Scared, shaking, I shot. Perfect conditions. No wind. Clear sight picture, my spotter was calling it in. Take him. Take him out. I didn't pull the trigger. Watched him through the scope for 2 full minutes. Saw him realize someone had him zeroed. Saw him make the choice to run. Instead of calling in our position, he lived. 40 men in my unit lived because he ran, instead of radioing. They court-martialed me for it. Failure to engage. Said I compromised the mission. Maybe I did. But some decisions transcend orders. Some mercy is worth the cost. The hardest shot isn't the longest one. It's knowing when not to take it. Sarah closes the journal, runs her fingers over the leather cover, worn smooth by her grandfather's hands. Now hers. Tomorrow there's a briefing. Something big. Hayes has that look. The one that says, people are going to die and we get to choose who. She lies back on the cot. Stares at the flickering bulb. Grandpa, I hope you're right about mercy, because I have a feeling I'm about to find out what it costs. The briefing room at FOB Hawkeye smells like coffee and sweat and the particular kind of tension that comes before bad news. Hayes stands at the front, arms crossed, watching his team file in 8 of his best, SEAL Team 5, the ones who've been with him through Fallujah, through Ramadi, through missions that will never make it into official reports. Chief Petty Officer Daniel Cruz comes in first. 40 years old, built like a middleweight boxer, carrying the team's S-25 sniper rifle like it's part of his body. Behind him, the assault team. Petty Officer First Class Torres, the breacher, Stevens and Rodriguez, automatic weapons. Young Jensen, medic, who saved 3 lives in a firefight last month. And Sarah, slipping in last, taking a seat in the back, always watching, always calculating. Gentleman Hayes catches himself, and Petty Officer Mitchell. We've got a target. The projector flickers to life. A face appears on the screen. Middle Eastern man, late 40s, thick beard, eyes that hold the kind of certainty that makes it dangerous. Rahman al-Rashid, Taliban commander, call sign The Shadow. Responsible for 47 coalition deaths over the past 18 months. IED ambushes, coordinated attacks on supply convoys. Hayes clicks to the next slide. Satellite imagery of a compound. Stone buildings clustered on a ridgeline. He's smart, he's careful. And he's been untouchable. Another click. Topographical map. Intel confirms he's here. Kandahar Valley. Small security detail. Minimal for fortifications. He thinks he's safe because of the terrain. Cruz leans forward, squinting at the map. What's the range from feasible overwatch positions? 2,800 to 3,200 meters. Hayes lets that sink in, give or take. Someone whistles low. Cruz shakes his head. Commander, that's theoretical distance, in perfect conditions maybe. But in Kandahar Valley, wind shear from the mountains, heat mirage, altitude. Hayes nods. I know the problems, Chief. With respect, sir, I'm good. I'm real good. But at that range, in those conditions, Cruz's jaw tightens. It's a coin flip. Not a shot. Maybe I get lucky. Maybe I don't. Maybe Rahman moves at the wrong second, and we just pissed away our only chance. The room goes quiet. Everyone knows Cruz is right. Longest confirmed sniper kill in history was 2,475 meters, made by a British sniper, near perfect conditions. They're talking about another half-mile on top of that, Commander. Sarah's voice, soft but clear. Every head turns. She stands, steps forward into the light. I can make that shot. A moment, nobody speaks. Then Cruz laughs. Not cruel, but incredulous. Mitchell, no disrespect. But this isn't the qualification range. This is combat conditions. This I know what it is, Chief. Sarah's eyes don't leave Hayes. My grandfather's confirmed record was 2,286 meters. Korea. Winter of 1952. Enemy machine gun nest. First shot at that distance in Marine Corps history. She pauses. I've exceeded that distance multiple times. In conditions that would make Kandahar Valley look easy, Hayes studies her. You're serious? Yes, sir. You understand what you're volunteering for, if you miss. Rahman disappears. We spend another 6 months trying to find him, while he kills more of our people. The weight of every single one of those deaths sits on your shoulders. I understand, Commander. Sarah's voice doesn't waver. I also understand that Chief Cruz just told you he can't guarantee the shot. I can. Cruz stands, 6 inches taller than Sarah. Twice her weight, Commander. I need to speak with you privately. Whatever you need to say. Say it here. Sir, she's never done this in combat. She's support personnel. We need someone what Sarah cuts in. Who has more experience missing? The room temperature drops 10 degrees. Hayes holds up a hand. Mitchell, you've got sand. I'll give you that. But Chief Cruz is right about one thing. Combat is different than the range. He checks his watch. So here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow morning, 0600. I want you at the long-range qualification course. 400 meters. Combat conditions as close as we can simulate. His eyes lock on hers. You make that shot. We'll talk. Sarah nods. Once, yes, sir. Dismissed. The sun hasn't crested the Hindu Kush when Sarah arrives at the range. The air is thin and cold, frost still clinging to the rocks. The mountains are shadows against a sky just beginning to lighten. Hayes is already there, drinking coffee from a metal canteen. Cruz stands beside him, arms crossed, face unreadable. 4 other SEALs have come to watch. Word has spread. Mitchell. Hayes' breath forms clouds in the morning air. Your weapon. Sarah unzips the case. The Remington 700 gleams in the pre-dawn light. .338, custom barrel, hand-loaded ammunition. The scope is a Night Force ATCR, 7.735x magnification. Parallax adjustment good to 3,000 yards. Her grandfather's rifle, the one he used in Korea, rebuilt, upgraded, but still carrying the same serial number stamped into the receiver 60 years ago. Target at 2,400 meters. Hayes points downrange, wind variable, 8 to 12 miles per hour. Temperature 43 degrees, rising, humidity low. He looks at her. You've got 5 rounds. Make them count. Sarah nods, pulls out a small notebook, starts running calculations. The SEALs watch in silence as she works, checking the Kestrel weather meter clipped to her vest, noting wind direction, temperature, barometric pressure. Her pencil moves rapidly across the paper, numbers flowing like water. Cruz can't help himself. What are you calculating? Everything. Sarah doesn't look up. Temperature affects air density. Lower density means less bullet drop. Humidity is minimal, so that's not a major factor. Wind's the problem. It's swirling, inconsistent. I need weight for a pattern. She clicks her rangefinder when confirmed. 2,400 meters. 7,197 feet. Altitude here is 7,400 feet above sea level, which means, well, the math gets interesting. She looks up at Cruz. Bullet drop at this distance with .338 Lapua Magnum. Accounting for altitude and temperature, 42.3 MOA. Minute of angle. 1 MO equals approximately 1 inch at 100 yards. She pauses, so at 400 yards. 1 MOA equals 24 inches, which means if I'm off by even half an MOA, I miss by 12 inches. Her eyes hold his at this distance, Chief. There's no such thing as close enough. Cruz nods slowly. So how do you account for it? Practice. Repetition. Knowing your weapon system so well that it becomes an extension of your body. Sarah's hands move to the rifle, checking the action, the trigger pull, and accepting that some variables you can't control. You just have to commit to the solution and trust your training. She settles into position, prone, rifle bipod extended, body aligned behind the weapon. Morning sun breaks over the mountains, painting the valley in golden shadow. Through the scope, the target is a small steel plate, man-sized, barely visible. Wind settling, Sarah murmurs, shifting from 8 miles per hour to 6. Pattern steadying. Hayes watches through binoculars. Cruz has his own scope, tracking the same target. Sarah's breathing, out, in, out, each breath deliberate, controlled. Her heart rate drops. 70 beats per minute to 60 to 50. A meditation technique her grandfather taught her, borrowed from Olympic shooter scope adjustment. She says quietly, more to herself than anyone else. 42. 3 Emma elevation. Wind 6 miles per hour at 2 o'clock means 4.8 and windage correction. Her fingers turn the turrets on the scope. Click, 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 each adjustment precise. Measured rigidity, she whispers. The world narrows to the crosshairs. The target is a dot at this distance, barely distinguishable from the rocks around it. Sarah's finger finds the trigger. A crisp 3.5-pound pull, exactly as her grandfather said it. She exhales halfway, holds between heartbeats. She squeezes the Remington roars. Recoil punches into her shoulder. She rides it, stays on target, watches through the scope. 3 seconds of flight time. The bullet drops a man's height, climbs again as the trajectory peaks, then falls toward Earth. Crosswind pushes it right. Spin drift pulls it further. Gravity works its mathematics. The steel plate rings like a bell, dead center holy. One of the seals starts, Agon. Hayes says Sarah cycles the bolt. Chambers, another round. Breathes. Cat quakes. This time, Cruz calls out a wind shift, gusting to 10 miles per hour. Variable Sarah adjusts, waits. The wind is like a living thing, pushing and pulling. She watches the mirage downrange, gauges the movement, finds the pattern. Shot 2. Another hit. Winds increasing. Cruz calls 12 to 15. Understood. Sarah runs new numbers in her head. More windage correction needed. The target is dancing in the mirage now. Heat from the rising sun distorting everything. Shot 3. High by 6 inches. Adjust, Hayes says. Already on it, Sarah's fingers move on the scope. She'd felt that shot go wrong. In the moment of trigger press, knew she'd pulled slightly adjustments. Breathe. Reset. Shot 4, dead center. Cruz lowers his scope. Looks at Hayes' commander. One more. Make it hard. Hayes nods. Mitchell. Hold position. We're moving the target. 2 SEALs jog down range. They reposition the steel plate, not just moving it laterally, but setting it at an angle, partially concealed behind rocks, harder to see, harder to hit. When they return, Hayes checks his rangefinder. Dandridge now 2,450 meters, wind gusting to 18 miles per hour. Targets at a 45-degree angle. He looks at Sarah. You've got 1 round left. Sarah pulls back from the scope, blinks, clears her vision, picks up the Kestrel. New calculations. The angled target means reduced surface area, less margin for error. The wind is worse now, inconsistent, swirling in the valley. 90 seconds of calculation. Her hand moves across the notebook, numbers flowing. This is the shot, she says quietly. This is the one that matters. She settles back into position, finds the target through the scope, barely visible now. Just a sliver of steel behind rock. The wind is chaos, gusting, dropping, gusting again. She needs a window. A moment of calm. 30 seconds pass. 60. Hayes shifts his weight. Impatient, Sarah waits, her grandfather's voice in her head. Patience is more important than skill. You can be the best shot in the world, but if you take it in the wrong conditions, you miss. Wait for your moment. It will come. 90 seconds. The wind drops. 5 seconds of relative calm. Sarah's finger finds the trigger. Exhale. Hold between heartbeats. Squeeze the Remington. Speaks its truth. 4 seconds of flight. The bullet carves through morning air, climbing its arc, fighting wind and gravity, and every force of physics that wants to drag it down. The steel plate rings, not center mass, but a hit. Solid, confirmed, undeniable. Lowers his binoculars slowly. Turns to Cruz. Chief. Cruz stares down range for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is rough. Commander, she made every shot except one, in conditions that would have had me packing up my rifle. And that last one, angled target, variable wind. He looks at Sarah. I wouldn't have taken it, so she's better than me. Cruz meets Hayes' eyes. She's better than anyone I've ever seen. Hayes walks over to where Sarah is still prone, still looking through the scope. Mitchell. On your feet. She stands, slinging the rifle across her back. Tomorrow. Morning, 0400. We brief the actual operation. Bring that rifle. Bring your grandfather's journal. Bring every piece of knowledge you have about long-range shooting. Hayes' face is stone. Because you're primary sniper for this mission. Cruz is your spotter. He leans closer, voice dropping, and if you miss, we all die. Sarah snaps to attention. Understood, sir. Dismissed. That evening, Sarah sits in Hayes' office. The space is barely larger than her quarters. Plywood walls, a metal desk, A chair that's seen better days. A single fluorescent tube buzzing overhead like an angry wasp. Hayes sits across from her, the classified folder between them. What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room. Sarah nods. Hayes slides the folder across. Open it. She does the photograph. The man in tactical gear, hard angles, cold eyes, the bearing of someone who spent decades in special operations. Colonel Marcus Brennan Hayes says, ring any bells. Sarah studies the face. Delta Force. Record holder for longest confirmed kill. 389 meters. Iraq 2004. She looks, why are you showing me this? Because he's our real target. Not Rahman, the words hang in the air. Heavy, final. Sarah's eyes widen slightly. Brennan is alive. He was declared dead. I know. Except he's very much alive. Working for the other side, advising Taliban forces. Teaching them counter-sniper tactics. Hayes leans forward. He's the one they call White Death. The sniper who's killed 15 coalition soldiers. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. An American. We're hunting an American. An American traitor who's killed 15 of our people, including Rebecca Torres. Sarah's hands tighten on the edge of the photo. Brennan studied your grandfather's work. Hayes continues, when he was at Fort Bragg. Before Delta, he spent months analyzing every shot William Mitchell ever made. Read every report. Studied every operation. He was obsessed with surpassing the Mitchell legacy. Sarah's mind races. The 3,089-meter shot, he dedicated it to my grandfather. Said he was honoring the tradition. Hayes' voice goes hard. Then he took everything we taught him. Everything your grandfather pioneered. And he sold it to the enemy. So no, Sarah. This isn't about honor anymore. This is about stopping a traitor before he kills more Americans. Why me? Because Brennan thinks he's the heir to your grandfather's legacy. He thinks he surpassed it. Hayes points at her. But you're the real heir. Blood, training, dedication. And if anyone's going to beat Brennan at his own game, it needs to be a Mitchell. Sarah closes the folder slowly. What's the ROE? Rules of engagement, lethal force authorized. No warning, no attempt at capture. The mission is elimination, pure and simple. Hayes pauses. I need to know if you can do this. Killing Taliban fighters is one thing. Killing an American, even a traitor, that's different. That's a line that once you cross, you don't come back from. Sarah thinks of her grandfather's journal. The entry about mercy. About the shot he didn't take, sir. My grandfather spared an enemy because he saw something worth saving. A scared kid who made a choice to run instead of fight. Meets Hayes' eyes. Marcus Brennan isn't that kid. He's a trained killer who chose to betray his country, who's teaching the enemy how to kill more Americans. There's nothing worth saving there, so you can make this shot. I can make any shot you need me to make. Sarah stands. When do we leave 04 Sun tomorrow? Full mission brief at 0500. Insertion at 23:15. Hayes stands as well. Get some rest. It's a long flight to Kandahar Valley. Sarah turns to leave, then pauses. Commander, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Why didn't you tell me this during the open briefing? Hayes is quiet for a moment, because the moment the team knows we're hunting an American, everything changes. They start second-guessing. Start wondering if maybe there's another way. Politics and ethics get in the way of what needs to be done. He looks at her steadily. But you needed to know, because when you're looking through that scope, when Brennan is in your crosshairs, I need you to understand exactly who you're killing. And why. I understand, sir. Good. Dismissed. Sarah walks back to her quarters. The night air is cold, stars overhead so bright they hurt to look at. The kind of sky that makes you feel small, makes you wonder about choices and consequences, and whether anything you do really matters in the end. She thinks about Brennan, about a man who spent 20 years trying to honor a legacy he never understood, who turned admiration into obsession, who crossed lines that can't be uncrossed. She thinks about Rebecca Torres, bright and young and dead because of him. She thinks about her grandfather, about mercy, about the boy he didn't shoot, about the consequences that rippled across 60 years. And she thinks about tomorrow, about a shot that will either end this or condemn more people to die. Inside her quarters, she begins preparing her gear. Each piece of equipment checked, double-checked, test fired or test used. The Remington 700 is fuel stripped, cleaned, reassembled, every round of ammunition inspected, weighed, measured. Her Kestrel weather meter is calibrated. Her rangefinder tested against known distances. At midnight, she allows herself one moment of doubt, sitting on her cot. Grandfather's journal in her lap. She wonders what he would think. Would he approve? Would he see this as justice? Or just another version of the thing that got him court-martialed? She finds the entry again. November 14th, 1952, rides it one more time. But her grandfather had been talking about mercy, about seeing humanity in the enemy, about choosing not to kill when killing would have been easier. Brennan had made his choices, trained Americans, then sold them out, killed 15 soldiers who trusted that their training, their equipment, their intelligence would keep them safe. He'd chosen profit over honor, greed over loyalty. Sarah closes the journal. Some mercy is worth the cost. Her grandfather had written, but some choices forfeit the right to mercy. She will make the shot, not for revenge, not for glory, but because it's the right thing to do, because letting Brennan continue would cost more American lives, because her grandfather had taught her not just how to shoot, but when to shoot, and why at 400 hours she's at the briefing room. Ready. Black Hawk's rotors beat the air like a giant's heartbeat. Steady and relentless, Sarah sits in the jump seat, rifle case between her knees, watching the Hindu Kush slide past below. Mountains look like the spine of some ancient creature, jagged and unforgiving. Valleys carved deep where rivers have spent millennia cutting stone. 2315 hours. Full dark. The cabin is lit only by red lights that preserve night vision, casting everyone in shades of crimson. Hayes sits across from her, eyes closed, but she knows he isn't sleeping. Next to him, Cruz checks and rechecks his gear. The obsessive precision of a man who stayed alive through attention to detail. The other SEALs are quiet, each locked in his own pre-mission ritual. Torres mouths silent prayers. Stevens cleans his weapon for the third time. Rodriguez stares at a photograph Sarah can't see. Jensen the medic inventories his aid bag one more time, fingers moving through bandages and tourniquets like a pianist warming up. And in the seat beside Sarah, Specialist Maria Castellano, 28 years old, communication specialist, dark hair pulled back tight, brown eyes that have seen too much for someone so young. Maria had introduced herself at the pre-flight brief. Quiet, professional. Shook Sarah's hand with a grip that said, "I belong here, don't test me." They'd sat in silence for the first hour of flight. Then Maria had leaned over, spoken just loud enough to be heard over the rotors. "My brother, Michael. He died here. Afghanistan, 2010. ID outside Kabul." Sarah had looked at her. "I'm sorry, everyone's sorry." Maria's voice wasn't bitter, just tired. "But sorry doesn't bring him back. So I stay, one deployment after another, because being here, where he was, it feels like I'm closer to him somehow." She'd looked out the window at the darkness rushing past. Does that make sense? Sarah had thought about her grandfather, about the journal she carried, about talking to him even though he was 2 years dead. "Yeah, it makes sense." Maria had smiled, small but real. "You know Rebecca Torres." "I knew of her. Met her once. 7 years ago, family thing. She was Michael's friend. They went through basic together. She wrote to him, sent him care packages. When he died, she came to the funeral, sat with our family, cried like she'd lost her own brother." Maria's hands folded in her lap. "So when I heard what happened to her, when I heard about this mission, I volunteered. Because Rebecca deserved better than an IED in the middle of nowhere. And because Michael would have wanted someone to stand up for her." Sarah had understood then. This mission wasn't just about tactics and targets. It was about people, about connections that ran deeper than duty, about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. She'd reached over, squeezed Maria's hand once. "We'll make it right," Maria had squeezed back. "I know we will." Now, as Black Hawk banks hard, dropping altitude, Sarah looks at Maria again. Maria catches her eye. Nods once. "We got this." "Yeah, we do." 5 minutes. The crew chief calls out, Hayes' eyes open. He looks at each member of his team, making eye contact, getting the nod. When he gets to Sarah, he holds her gaze for a moment longer than the others. She nods once. "Ready." Black Hawk banks hard. Dropping altitude, the valley walls rush up to meet them. The pilots are flying no-E, nap of the earth, staying low to avoid radar detection. This altitude, one wrong move, and they paint the mountainside with wreckage. But the pilots are good. The best the helicopter flares. Settling onto a rocky plateau with barely a bump, before the skids fully touch down, Hayes is moving. Hand signals crisp in the red light. Sarah follows Cruz out. Boots hitting Afghan soil, weapon up. Scanning for threats, the Black Hawk lifts immediately, rotors washing them with grit and exhaust. Then it's gone, swallowed by the darkness, and they're alone. In enemy territory, silence rushes in like a physical presence. No engine noise, no radio chatter. Just wind and the sound of 8 operators breathing, adjusting their kit, preparing to move. Hayes' hand comes up. More signals, diamond formation, 50-meter intervals. Noise discipline absolute. They move out. The terrain is brutal. Loose scree that shifts underfoot, threatening to send them sliding. Rocky outcroppings that have to be climbed. The elevation gain is punishing. 2,400 feet, over 6 kilometers carrying full combat loads. Sarah's pack weighs 70 pounds. The rifle case another 15. Her legs burn after the first kilometer. She doesn't complain, doesn't slow down, just keeps moving, one foot in front of the other, breathing steady despite the thin air. Cruz moves like a ghost ahead of her, somehow finding the quiet path through the rocks. Sarah follows his footsteps exactly, trusting his experience. Behind her, Maria maintains interval, weapon at low ready, covering their 2 hours of climbing. No talking, hand signals only. Once Hayes raises a fist, everyone freezes. Sarah's heart hammers as she scans the darkness through her night vision goggles. The world rendered in shades of green, flat and surreal. After 30 seconds, Hayes moves again. Fort alarm. At 04:30, they reach the overwatch position. The ridge is perfect, a rocky outcropping that gives them clear sight lines down into the valley. While providing cover and concealment, Hayes positions the team, assault element, further back, ready to provide security. Sarah and Cruz move to the lip of the ridge, begin setting up their hide site, stringing camouflage netting, arranging rocks to create a low berm. Sarah unpacks the Remington 700, assembles it with practiced efficiency, every movement deliberate, quiet. The Barrett M82A1 comes out next, the backup weapon. A 50 caliber monster that can punch through engine blocks. Radio check. Hayes whispers into his mic. One by one, the team confirms comms. Sarah keys her mic twice. Good copy. All stations, this is Hayes. We're set. Maintain noise discipline. Mitchell, Cruz, begin observation at first light. Everyone else rest rotation. 4 hours on. 4 hours off, Sarah settles into position behind the Remington. Eye to scope, can't see anything yet. Too dark even with night vision, but she can feel the valley below, can sense the distance. She pulls out her Kestrel weather meter, takes readings, temperature 43 degrees and dropping, wind calm for now. But that will change with sunrise. Humidity low, barometric pressure, noting the altitude. She opens her small notebook, begins logging data. Cruz watches. Sipping water from his camelback. How you holding up? He whispers, good. That climb was a bitch. Yeah. He almost smiles. You don't say much, do you? Not much to say. Sarah checks her watch. 0500. An hour until first light. Chief, get some rest. I'll maintain watch, you sure? I'm not sleeping until this is done. Cruz studies her face in the darkness. Odds. Wake me at first light. And Mitchell, yeah, don't do anything heroic. We take this slow. We take it smart. Copy that. He moves back 10 feet, settles against a rock, is asleep within minutes. Sarah envies that ability. Her own mind is racing, running calculations, playing out scenarios. What if the wind is too variable? What if Brennan doesn't show? What if she misses? What if? She pushes the thoughts away, focuses on breathing, on the present moment, on the rifle in her hands, on the valley below. Her grandfather's voice comes to her, memory as clear as if he was sitting beside her. Fear is just another variable, Sarah. You account for it, adjust for it, move on. The shot doesn't care if you're scared. Physics doesn't care, so breathe, calculate. Commit. The eastern sky begins to lighten, not sunrise yet, but the deep black fading to charcoal. Sarah watches the valley emerge from darkness like a photograph developing. Stone buildings become visible first, then the compound walls, then individual features. Chief, she whispers. First light. Cruz is awake instantly, moving to position beside her with the spotting scope. Together they glass the target area. The compound is exactly as the intel photo showed. Two-story stone building, flat roof, surrounded by a wall maybe 8 feet high. 4 guards visible on the walls. More movement inside the courtyard. 2 technical trucks. Toyota pickups with machine guns mounted in the bed's range. Cruz says quietly. Sarah uses the laser rangefinder, careful to keep the beam anything reflective. 2,847 meters. 8,541 feet. She checks the Kestrel. 6 miles per hour, variable. Direction shifting between 2 and 3 o'clock. Temperature 51 degrees, rising fast. Cruz makes notes in his own book. Okay, we're looking at significant heat mirage in about 2 hours. Temperature differential between us and the valley floor is going to create distortion. Sarah nods. She'd accounted for that. The morning window would be best, after the light was good enough to see clearly, before the heat built up enough to shimmer the air. Movement. Cruz says, second floor balcony. Sarah swings the Remington onto target. Through the night force scope at high magnification appears. Middle-aged, beard, traditional Afghan clothing, drinking from a small cup. Tea, probably. That's him. She breathes. That's Raman. Confirm. Target identified. Cruz keys his radio. Hayes, this is Cruz. Primary target spotted. Hayes' voice comes back. Calm and controlled copy. Stand by. Looking for White Death. Sarah shifts her scan. Checking the surrounding buildings. The ridge lines. Somewhere out there Marcus Brennan is watching. Waiting, she can feel it. An itch between her shoulder blades. The sensation of being in someone else's crosshairs. Chief, she says quietly. He knows where. How can you know that? Because this is what I do. Set up the primary target as bait. Wait for the sniper to reveal position. Take them out. Sarah's eyes never stop moving. Scanning. Searching. Studied my grandfather's tactics. This was one of them. Cruz goes very still. Are you saying we're in his trap? I'm saying he's good enough to predict where we'd set up Overwatch. And he's patient enough to wait for us to commit. Hayes, this is Cruz. He keys the radio. Mitchell advises possible counter-sniper trap. Request permission to relocate STECT. Then Hayes' voice negative. Too exposed to move now. We stay put. Find Brennan before he finds us. Sarah increases her scanning pattern. Not just the obvious positions, the facing ridge lines. The high ground. Brennan would know those were obvious. He'd set up somewhere unexpected. Somewhere with clear sight lines. But from an angle no one would anticipate, the sun crests the mountains. Golden light floods the valley. Harsh and beautiful. Shadows become knife-edged. Every rock stands out in sharp relief, and then she sees it context. Her voice is barely a whisper. Adjacent ridge. 11 o'clock. 3,100 meters. Cruz swings his spotting scope. I don't see. Wait. Watch for sunglint. He's got a scope. And there, a flash. Brief, just a fraction of a second, sunlight catching glass. I see him. Cruz breathes. Jesus, that's a hell of a position. How did you? It's what my grandfather would have chosen. Sarah is already running calculations. New range. Different angle. Wind will be affected by the cross-valley currents. Range to secondary target. 3,112 meters. 9,336 feet. Sarah's mind races through the ballistics. Longer range means more bullet drop, more wind drift, more time for variables to affect the shot. The 3 and 38 Lapua Magnum can reach that far, but accuracy will be degraded. Margin for error measured in inches. I have the shot. She says difficult but achievable. Hayes, this is Cruz. Secondary target acquired. Adjacent ridge. Range 3, 1 and 12. Mitchell has the shot. Pause. Can she take it? Cruz looks at Sarah. She looks back. Utterly calm. Affirmative. She's got it. Stand by. I'm going to. The transmission cuts off. Not static. Just silence. Then the sound reaches them. A flat crack. Echoing across the valley. Unmistakable. High-powered rifle. Contact. Someone yells. Hayes' voice sniper. Everyone down. Sarah's heart rate spikes. She shifts her aim, trying to locate the shooter. But Brennan has already moved. She knows it. That shot was fired from a position he wouldn't use twice. Hayes, this is Cruz, report. One round fired. Missed the commander by maybe 18 inches. Brennan is mobile. We've lost visual. Sarah scans frantically. Where would he go? Where would she go? The answer comes immediately. Closer. Close enough that the next shot wouldn't miss. Chief. He's relocating to improve his angle, probably cutting the range by 5, maybe 800 meters. Look for positions between 2,300 and 2,500 meters out. Cruz sweeps the valley with his scope. There. 10 o'clock, lower ridge. I've got movement. Sora shifts, catches a glimpse of something. Fabric, maybe. Or the stock of a rifle. Nothing. I don't have a clear shot. He's playing smart. Moving position to position. Never exposing himself. Hayes, this is Cruz. Brennan's closing range. Estimate 2,400 meters current position. We're tight. No clear shot. Copy. We're engaging targets in the compound. Taking fire from multiple positions. Taliban forces moving in from 3 approaches. The situation is deteriorating fast. Sarah can hear gunfire now. The sharp bark of M4s. The deeper thud of AK-47s. The Taliban fighters had been waiting, positioned to ambush them, and had set this up perfectly. Chief, check your cargo pocket. Left side. Cruz frowns. What? Just check it. He reaches down, feels the pocket. His face goes pale, pulls out a small device. Chinese-made satellite phone. Definitely not U.S. issue. What the hell? You're the mole, Sarah says flatly, or someone planted that on you. Either way, that's how Brennan knew we were coming. Cruz stares at the phone like it's a live grenade. I never. Commander, we've got a problem. Sarah keeps her voice level. Clinical. Chief, Cruz has a sat phone that's not part of our standard kit. Someone's been feeding Brennan information. Hayes' voice comes back hard. Cruz, you want to explain that? Sir, I don't know how that got there. I didn't put it there. I would never later. Right now, we've got bigger problems. Brennan is still active, and we're taking fire from 3 sides. Mitchell, can you engage? Sarah scans desperately. Brennan is out there somewhere, repositioning, preparing his next shot. Every second he's active, her team is in danger. She needs to find him, pin him down in this negative, no clear shot. He's too well concealed, then make him reveal himself. Hayes' voice carries an edge she's never heard before. Mitchell, this is Hayes. Mission is compromised. We're burned. Exfil birds are 40 minutes out. Hold position. Stay alive. We'll sort this out back at base. 40 minutes. Eternity in combat. Sarah's mind races through options. They're pinned down, under fire, with a hostile sniper who knows exactly where they are. The tactical situation is deteriorating by the second, Chief, she says quietly. That phone. When was it planted? Cruz looks sick. I don't know. Could have been any time. During gear up, during the flight, even during the climb. I never check that pocket. It's usually empty. Check the call log. Now, his fingers shake slightly as he activates the phone, scrolls through. There's only one number, and it's been calling out. Last transmission was, he looks at his watch. Does the math, 20 minutes before we inserted. Grid coordinates were sent. Sarah's blood goes cold. Someone at FOB Hawkeye betrayed them. Someone knew the operation, knew the insertion point, knew everything, and they'd passed it all to Brennan Commander. Whoever planted this phone is back at base. Someone with access to our mission planning, someone who knew our LZ coordinates. Silence on the radio. When Hayes speaks again, his voice is controlled fury. Copy that. We'll deal with it. Right now, focus on Brennan. I need that sniper down. Sarah goes back to scanning. The problem is simple. Brennan has every advantage. He knows where they are. He has prepared positions. He's mobile while they're static. The only way to beat him is to think like him. What would her grandfather do? The answer comes. Count the game. Stop reacting. Start forcing moves. Chief, I need you to trust me. What are you thinking, Raman? He's still on that balcony, still drinking his tea. Brennan is protecting him, which means Brennan is positioned to cover the comp. So we take the shot at Rahman. Force Brennan to reveal himself when he tries to return fire. Cruz's eyes widen. You're making yourself bait. I'm making us both bait. But it's the only way to draw him out. Sarah's hands are steady on the rifle. We take Rahman. Brennan loses his primary mission objective. He'll have to engage us directly. Or risk mission failure. Either way, he reveals position, and if he shoots you while you're lining up on Rahman, then you shoot him. Sarah looks at Cruz directly. Chief, I know you didn't plant that phone. I know you're not a traitor. So I need you to be my eyes while I'm on target. Can you do that? Something in Cruz's face hardens. The doubt flees. Replaced by determination. Yeah, I can do that. Hayes, this is Cruz. We're engaging primary target to draw out secondary. Standby, negative Cruz. Mission is scrubbed. We're extracting, sir. If we don't take Brennan now, he disappears. 40 more Americans die while we try to find him again. Sarah's voice doesn't waver. This is the shot. I can make this work. Long pause. Sarah can almost hear Hayes weighing the options. Finally, you've got one shot. Make it count. All stations. Covering fire on my mark. Give the sniper team some breathing room. Sarah settles behind the Remington. Finds Rahman in the scope. He's still there. Oblivious. Watching the firefight in the valley below like it's entertainment. 2,847 meters. Wind now 8 miles per hour. Shifting to 10. Temperature 73 degrees and climbing. Heat mirage beginning to distort the image. She runs the calculations in her head. Bullet drop at this range. Accounting for altitude and temperature. 43.7 wind drift. 6 Mo. Right Coriolis effect. 1.0 left. 0.6 Mo right. Total adjustment 43.7 up. 6 bar 47 right. Her fingers turn the scope turrets. Click, click. Each adjustment precise. Wind shifting, Cruz says. Now 12 miles per hour. Gusting to 15, Sora recalculates. More windage needed. The gusts are the problem. Inconsistent. Unpredictable. She watches the valley, looking for patterns. The wind flags she'd noted. Movement of dust. The way vegetation bends, parts cycling. Every 7 to 8 seconds. She says there's a 30-second window when it drops to steady 10. Next window in 4 minutes. Copy. I'll call it when we're in the window. Sarah waits, breathing steady. Heart rate controlled. In her peripheral vision, she can see Cruz scanning with the splitting scope. Watching for Brennan, ready to call out if the enemy sniper reveals himself. The firefight below intensifies. Hayes' team is engaging Taliban fighters, trying to create enough chaos to cover Sarah's shot. Tracer rounds arc across the valley. The heavy M249 SAU hammers the air. 3 minutes. Cruz says Sarah finds her zone, the place her grandfather taught her, where everything else falls away. And only the shot remains. Her breathing slows. Her vision sharpens. The rifle becomes an extension of her body, responding to the tiniest muscle twitch. 2 minutes. Wind starting to drop. Through the scope, Rahman sets down his teacup. Stands. Starts to turn toward the door. He's moving. Sarah says 1 minute. Stay on him. Rahman pauses. Pulls out a cell phone. Makes a call. Gestures with his free hand. He's right there, perfectly positioned. But if he goes inside, they lose the shot entirely. 30 seconds. Winds at 12. Dropping to 10, 9, 8. It's settling. Sarah's finger finds the trigger. 3.5 pounds of pressure smooth. Steady. Windows open. Send it. Rahman is talking on the phone. Animated. Unaware, Sarah exhales halfway. Holds her heartbeat. Once, twice, between beats. In the eternal moment of stillness, she squeezes the Remington roars. Recoil hammers her shoulder. She rides it. Stays on target. Watches through the scope. 3 seconds of flight time. The bullet climbing its arc. Pushed by wind. Pulled by gravity. Spinning through air that grows thinner as it climbs. Through the scope, she sees Rahman's head snap back. Drops like a puppet with cut strings. The phone clatters across the balcony. Hit Cruz breathes. Good hit. Primary target down. But Sarah is already moving, shifting her aim. Scanning for Brennan. Where is he? I don't wait. Contact. 11:30, lower ridge. He's repositioning. Catches movement. Sees Brennan clearly for the first time. Prone position. Russian-made rifle. Ghillie suit. He's setting up for a return shot. The distance is too far for the Remington. Not impossible, but degraded accuracy. She needs the Barrett. Switching weapons. Her hands move fast, pushing the Remington aside, pulling the Barrett M82A1 forward. The 50 caliber beast is meant for material targets. Vehicles. Light structures, but it can reach out to 4,000 meters if needed. She throws the bipod down. settles in behind massive microphone, finds Brennan in the scope, range 3,047 meters. He's setting up on you. You've got maybe 10 seconds before he fires. Sarah runs calculations at lightning speed. The Barrett's ballistics are different. Heavier bullet, different trajectory, but she knows this weapon. Has fired it hundreds of times. Brennan is almost set. She can see him adjusting his scope, finding his target, finding her. No time for perfect. Only time for good enough. Sarah settles her breathing. Trusts her instinct more than her calculation. Squeezes. The Barrett speaks with a voice like God's own thunder. The recoil is massive, pushing her back even braced against the bipod. The muzzle brake regrets blasts sideways, a concussive wave that kicks up dust all around her position. Through the scope, she sees Brennan's rifle disintegrate. The scope explodes. In a shower of glass and metal, he rolls sideways, scrambling for cover. Hit his weapon. Cruz yells. He's blind. Star is already cycling the bolt, chambering another. But Brennan is moving fast. Disappearing behind rocks, she fires again. The 50 caliber round blows chunks out of the boulder he'd been using for cover, but he's already gone. He's displaced. I've lost him. All stations, this is Hayes. Primary target eliminated. Secondary target engaged. Status unknown. We're pulling back to LZ. Move now. Move fast. The team begins breaking contact, firing and maneuvering by pairs, creating space between themselves and the Taliban fighters. Sarah and Cruz pack their weapons. Controlled urgency. Breaking down the hide site. Preparing to move. Hayes, this is Cruz. Status, on the phone. Cruz looks at the device. Still lying on the rocks. Still here, Commander, bring it. We're going to find out who gave us up. They move out, falling back along their approach route. The Taliban fighters are disorganized, leaderless without Rahman. But they're still numerous, still dangerous. Bullets snap past, ricocheting off rocks. Torres returns fire with controlled bursts, covering the team's movement. Sarah runs, rifle case on her back, weapon in her hands, scanning for threats. Her legs burn, lungs heaving in the thin air. Behind them, the firefight continues, gradually fading as distance increases. They reach the LZ 35 minutes later, lungs burning. Everyone's ammunition low. The Blackhawks come in fast, barely touching down before the team piles in. Sarah is the last up the ramp. Cruz pulling her aboard as the helicopter lifts. Through the open door, she can see the valley falling away. Smoke rises from the compound. Mom is dead. Brennan is wounded. His weapon destroyed. His mission failed. But he's alive, and alive means dangerous. Hayes moves through the helicopter, checking each team member. When he gets to Cruz, he holds out his hand. Phone. Cruz hands it over. Hayes examines it, his face carved from stone. When we get back to base, no one talks about this. Not to anyone. Not until we figure out who planted this. He looks at Sarah. You understand. Someone at FOB Hawkeye betrayed us. Someone with access to classified operations. And until we know who, we trust no one. Sarah nods. Her mind is already working through the implications. The mission planning had been restricted. Only Hayes, Cruz, and a handful of officers back at base would have known the details, the insertion coordinates, the timing, the specific target. Someone in that small circle is a traitor. The helicopter banks hard, heading for friendly airspace. Sarah closes her eyes, lets the adrenaline slowly drain from her system. She'd made the shot. Rahman is dead. Brennan is neutralized, at least temporarily, but something nags at her. Something about the way Brennan had positioned himself. The way he'd waited. This wasn't just counter-sniper tactics. This was personal. He'd studied her grandfather's methods, dedicated his record shot to William Mitchell's memory, and now she'd destroyed his rifle, ruined his mission, cost him his target. Men like Brennan don't forget things like that. The war between them has just begun. The Black Hawk touches down at FOB Hawkeye at 00847 hours. Sarah's boots hit the tarmac, legs unsteady from adrenaline crash and exhaustion. The sun is already climbing toward brutal midday heat, turning the base into an oven. Around her, the team disperses toward debriefing, each man carrying the weight of a mission that had reshaped everything they thought they knew about limits. Hayes' hand on her shoulder stops her. Mitchell, my office. 5 minutes. Nods. Walk away. Cruz stands nearby. The confiscated sat phone now in an evidence bag. Under Hayes' arm, the chief's face is drawn. Pale beneath his tan, being accused of betrayal, even implicitly, has carved something out of him. Chief Sarah says quietly. He looks at her. I didn't plant that phone. I need you to know that. I know. How can you be sure? Because if you were working with Brennan, you would have let me take that shot at him. Let me expose myself. Let him kill me. You didn't. You covered me. Sarah adjusts the rifle case on her shoulder. Whoever planted it wants us fighting each other. Wants us doubting. We don't give them that. Something like relief crosses Cruz's face. Thanks. Don't thank me yet. We still have to find out who did plant it. She leaves him there. Walks toward the plywood building that houses Hayes' office. Inside, the air is marginally cooler, circulated by a fan that sounds like it's dying. Hayes sits behind his desk, not with the sat phone, but with something else. A clear evidence bag containing another phone. Screen cracked, but still glowing. Close the door. Sarah does. Takes the offered chair. Quick reaction force recovered this from Brennan's last position. 20 minutes ago, Hayes the evidence bag across, he had it on him. Message typed, but not sent. Addressed to you. Sarah picks up the bag, reads the screen. The text is small, cramped, but legible. Sarah Mitchell. If you're reading this, you made a shot I didn't think was possible. 3,247 meters. You just broke my record by 158 meters. I studied your grandfather's work for 20 years. William Mitchell shaped everything I became as a sniper. When I made my 3,089-meter shot in Iraq, I dedicated it to his memory. I thought I was honoring his legacy. I was wrong. Korea, 1952. Your grandfather spared a North Korean spotter, age 19. That spotter had a son who became a legendary instructor in their military. That instructor trained foreign advisors in the 1990s during joint exercises, including me. Your grandfather's mercy created a lineage of snipers. I'm the corruption of that line. I took everything he taught, through that lineage, through studying his methods, and I sold it. For money, for pride, for proving I could surpass the legend. But I never understood what made him legendary. It wasn't the distance, it was the judgment. Mole at Phobe Hawkeye isn't Cruz. He's just a patsy. The real traitor is Colonel Augustus Stanton. He's been selling intel for 3 years. Payment, $8.7 million. Offshore accounts. Gambling debts and blackmail drove him to it. Stanton will kill you all to protect himself. He planted that phone on Cruz during final gear check. He warned me you were coming. He's been running this operation from the start. You're the true heir to William Mitchell's legacy. Don't let Stanton corrupt it the way I did. Your 3,247-meter shot just proved who the real master is. Your grandfather would be proud. Tell Helen I wish I could have met him. Marcus Brennan. Sarah reads it twice. Her hands are steady, but her mind is racing through implications. Connections, threats, is it credible? She asks. CA is checking Stanton's financials now. But yeah, everything Brennan said matches patterns we've been seeing. 11 operations compromised in 6 months. Every single one after Stanton arrived at this base. Hayes' jaw tightens. The timing is perfect. If Stanton knows we're looking at him, he'll run or eliminate witnesses. Hayes leans forward, which is why we're moving fast. CIA is preparing arrest warrants as we speak. But Mitchell, Stanton doesn't know about this message yet. Brennan never sent it. We recovered it from his body. He's dead. Confirmed. Quick reaction force found him 200 meters from his firing position. Died from wounds sustained when his rifle was destroyed. Just for a second. Just long enough to hurt. He wanted to meet Grandpa. He was lost. And I killed him. Ya stopped him from killing more people. Like Rebecca Torres, voice is firm. That's what William Mitchell would want. That's what you were supposed to do. Sarah nods. But the weight sits heavy anyway. What do you need me to do? I need you to act normal. Go to the debriefing at 1500 hours. Don't let Stanton know we're on to him. Let him think we're still chasing ghosts. Hayes' eyes are hard. CIA will move tonight. 0200 hours. Quietly. By morning this will be over. Sarah nods. But her instincts are screaming. Men like Stanton don't survive 4 decades in special operations by being oblivious. If he senses even the slightest shift, in how people look at him, how they act around him. He'll know. Sir, what if he runs before, then all exits are monitored? He's not leaving this base without us knowing, unless he has help we don't know about. Hayes is quiet for a moment, then we deal with that when it happens. For now, gets you look like hell, with respect, sir. So, do you? He almost smiles. Dismissed. The debriefing at 1500 hours is tense. Hayes stands at the front, face impassive. Cruz sits in the front row, cleared now, but still carrying the weight of accusation. The rest of the SEALs scatter throughout the room, their usual camaraderie strained by suspicion and exhaustion. Standing against the back wall, in crisp ACUs despite the heat, Colonel Augustus Stanton, 61 years old. Silver hair, ramrod posture. His chest bears rows of ribbons, bronze, purple hearts, campaign medals from Grenada to Iraq, 4 decades of service, of sacrifice, of leadership, or 4 decades of building the perfect cover. Sarah studies him as she enters. Gentlemen, Petty Officer Mitchell Hayes' voice cuts through the murmuring. Operation Desert Viper is officially closed. Primary target Rahman al-Rashid is KIA, confirmed by drone surveillance and ground recovery. He clicks to the next slide. Secondary target Marcus Brennan is also KIA. Confirmed kill at range of 3,247 meters. The room goes absolutely silent, then erupts 3,200. That's over 2 miles. How is that even possible? Hayes raises a hand. Silence crashes down. Petty Officer Mitchell made the shot with a Barrett M82A1. Accounting for extreme wind conditions, heat mirage, terrain, the kill is confirmed, verified, and will be submitted for record certification. He looks directly at Sarah. Longest confirmed combat kill in United States military history. Previous record was 3,089 meters. Mitchell exceeded it by 158 meters. Every eye turns to her. Sarah keeps her face neutral. But she can feel the weight of it. Not pride, not satisfaction, just the knowledge that mathematics and training and her grandfather's legacy had converged in a single moment of perfect execution. Now, Hayes continues about the compromised operation. He pulls up the image of the sat phone found on Cruz. This device was used to transmit our insertion coordinates to enemy forces. Someone planted it. Someone betrayed this operation. CIA is investigating. Every person associated with this mission is under scrutiny until we find answers. Colonel Stanton steps forward, Commander Hayes. If I may. Hayes gestures for him to continue. This is a serious breach, but we must handle it carefully. Whoever did this is watching, gauging our response. We need to be methodical, thorough, and above all, patient. His voice is measured, reasonable. Rushing to judgment will only. We respect Colonel. Sarah's voice cuts across the room. Everyone turns. Being patient is how we got 15 Americans killed by Brennan. Being methodical is how the mole operated for 6 months. Maybe what we need is decisive actions. Stanton's eyes find her. Measured. Petty Officer Mitchell, sniper. That was extraordinary work today. Just doing my job, sir. A job you did exceptionally well. 3,247 meters. That's beyond exceptional. That's historic. Stanton's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Tell me, how did you calculate for the extreme range? Most snipers would have considered it impossible. The question seems innocent, but Sarah feels the probe in it. The way he's testing her, evaluating her as a threat or an asset. The Barrett has sufficient muzzle velocity to reach that distance. The 50 BMG round maintains enough energy even at extreme range. I calculated for bullet drop, 56.8 MOA, wind drift at 14.2 MOA, Coriolis effect. The fact that the round would be subsonic at impact, which affects terminal ballistics. She pauses. The math was complex but achievable, and you had time to make all those calculations. While Brennan was moving, I had 3 seconds, sir, which is all I needed. Stanton nods slowly. Your grandfather would be proud. William Mitchell was a legend. Korea, 1952. His methods are still taught today. He pauses. In fact, I believe Marcus Brennan studied those methods extensively, tried to surpass them. Must have been personal. Taking him down, Sarah holds his gaze. It wasn't personal, sir. It was operational. Brennan was a threat. I neutralized that threat. The fact that he studied my grandfather's work is irrelevant to the mission requirements. Of course, Stanton turns back to Hayes, Commander. Continue your investigation. You have my full support and cooperation.
I'll make myself available to CIA whenever required.
He moves toward the door.
Pauses, Commander.
Be very careful who you trust. Betrayal often comes from unexpected directions. After he leaves, the tension in the room is palpable. Hayes continues the briefing, walking through timeline, asking each team member to account for their movements during pre-mission prep. Sarah listens, but her mind is elsewhere. Stanton had been probing, testing to see if she knew something. The way he'd asked about her calculations, about the personal nature of the shot, about her grandfather. He was looking for tells, for any indication that she suspected him. At a 1:45 hours, someone pounds on her door. Urgent. Aggressive. Sarah sit up instantly. Weapon in hand. Identify Cruz. Sarah, we've got a situation. Stanton knows. She opens the door. Cruz looks like death. Behind him, Hayes. Fully armed, tactical vest on. Weapon at low ready. CA went to arrest Stanton at 0145. Hayes says his quarters are empty. Personal effects gone. He ran. How did he know? We think he has someone inside CIA. Or he's been monitoring communications. Doesn't matter now. Hayes checks his watch, but he hasn't left the base. All exits are locked down. Guards doubled. He's trapped here somewhere. Where would he go? Armory. Cruz says he'd ammunition, supplies for an escape. We've got teams searching. But an explosion rocks the base, not close. But big, the building shakes. Fire alarm starts wailing. All stations, this is Teach Hayes radio crackles. Major fire at fuel depot. Possible sabotage. Emergency crews responding. All personnel report to Hayes. Cuts the radio. Diversion. He's moving while everyone's distracted by the fire. Classic misdirection, where Sarah is already moving. Grabbing her vest. Her weapon motor pool. Hayes says he needs a vehicle to ram the gates. A Humvee with enough mass and armor could punch through if he's desperate enough. They run through chaos, soldiers streaming toward the fire, smoke billowing into the night sky, commands being shouted, confusion everywhere. Nobody looks twice at three operators moving in the opposite direction. The motor pool is a large open area. Rows of vehicles parked in neat lines. Most are dark, inactive, locked down for the night, but at the far end, past the maintenance bays, lights, engine noise, a Humvee backing out of its space. Headlights cutting through the smoke-haze darkness, their cruise points. The Humvee accelerates toward them. Engine roaring. Sarah can see the driver face. Illuminated by dashboard lights. Stanton, jaw set with determination. He's not stopping, not slowing. This is a man who's made his choice and committed to it fully. Get clear. Hayes raises his M4. But Sarah's already moving, not away, toward, running, at an angle. Calculating speed trajectory with the same precision she uses for ballistics. The Humvee is massive, armored, unstoppable, but it has blind spots. She times her approach perfectly. As the Humvee roars past, she grabs the door handle, yanks locked it. Her momentum carries her onto the running board. She wraps her arm through the window frame, locks her grip. Stanton swerves hard, trying to throw her off. Wine tears at her. The pavement blurs beneath her feet, but she holds on, breaks the driver's window with her rifle stock. Safety glass explodes inward. Stop the vehicle. Instead, he accelerates. The main gate is ahead. Barriers visible in the distance. Guards scrambling to respond. He's going to ram it, blast through, disappear into the Afghan night. Stanton pulls a sidearm from his vest, tries to point it at her through the broken window. Sarah grabs his wrist, torques it hard. The weapon misfires during the struggle, bullet punching through the roof. In that moment of distraction, she hooks her arm around his neck, pulls him away from the steering wheel. The Humvee swerves violently. Strakisa concrete Jersey barrier at 40 miles per hour. The impact is catastrophic. Metal screams. Glass shatters. The vehicle slews sideways, momentum carrying it into a roll. Sora had jumped clear at the last second, hit the ground rolling, comes up in a combat crouch, weapon raised. Her shoulder screams where she'd landed on it. But nothing feels broken. Hayes and Cruz reach her seconds later. You okay? Fine. Get Stanton. They pull the colonel from the wreckage. He's alive, injured, bleeding from a head wound. Left arm bent at a wrong angle. but conscious Hayes zip-ties his hands behind his back. While Cruz clears the vehicle for any other threats, Augustus Stanton, Hayes' voice is formal. Cold. You're under arrest for treason, espionage, conspiracy, and the murder of American service members. Stanton looks at Sarah through blood streaming down his face. You couldn't leave it alone. Brennan told you, didn't he? He did. I should have killed you in the valley. One call. One small adjustment to Brennan's position. He could have taken you out before you ever fired. Stanton laughs, a wet bubbling sound. But I thought maybe you'd miss. Everyone said 3,200 meters was impossible. If you missed, if Brennan survived, none of this still be clean. But I didn't miss. Sarah says quietly, I made the shot at 247 meters. And then I made another one, and I'll keep making them, Colonel. For as long as people like you betray people like us, Stanton spits blood. Your grandfather would have understood. Sometimes survival requires compromise. Sometimes you have to make deals to stay alive. My grandfather understood that some compromise cost you your soul. Sarah steps close, you lost yours for $8 million. He never would have understood that. He never would have forgiven it. Your grandfather was a fool. He let an enemy go in Korea. That enemy's son trained the man who killed 15 Americans. His mercy created Brennan. Mercy created a legacy of honor that you corrupted. Sarah's voice is steady. Brennan at least understood that at the end. You never will. Military police arrive. Take Stanton into custody. Medics check Sarah's shoulder, bruised but functional. Hayes stands with her as they watch Stanton being loaded into an ambulance. Hands still bound. Career and freedom and honor all gone in one desperate gamble. You could have been killed. Jump on that Humvee, Hayes says. But I wasn't, and now he's not getting away. Hayes studies her face in the pre-dawn darkness. You're not done yet, are you? This war, this fight, Sarah thinks about Brennan's message, about the network that might still exist, about all the other threats out there. No, sir. I'm just getting started. 2 weeks later. The ceremony is small and classified, just the team. A handful of officers cleared for the operation, and a 2-star general Sarah has never met. The Afghan sun beats down on the formation assembled in a cleared area of Fob Hawkeye. Petty Officer First Class Sarah Mitchell. The general reads from official orders. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action against enemy forces, for tactical excellence under extreme conditions resulting in the elimination of 2 high-value targets, for actions directly leading to the capture of a traitor within our ranks, preventing further loss of American lives, you are hereby awarded the Bronze Star Medal with Valor device. Hayes pins it on her chest. Sarah stands at attention, feeling the weight of it, not the medal itself, but everything it represents. 15 Americans avenged. A traitor stopped, a legacy honored. Afterward, Hayes pulls her aside. Away from the others, you've got orders. Scout Sniper School, Quantico, instructor position. He smiles slightly. Youngest instructor they've ever had. Your grandfather would be proud. He'd say, I still have a lot to learn. We all do. Hayes looks at her seriously. But that shot, 3,200 meters, combat conditions, extreme range. That's going into history books, Mitchell. Longest confirmed kill in U.S. military history. You beat Brennan's record. You beat everyone's record. That evening, Sarah sits in her quarters. Laptop balanced on her knees. Video call connecting. The buffering icon spins, then Helen's face appears. Sarah, her grandmother's voice is clear. Present, one of the good days. Hi, Grandma, I heard about what you did. Medal, the record. Helen's eyes with tears. William would be. He is proud, so proud, baby. Grandma, I read the journal. The boy he didn't shoot in Korea. His family trained Brennan. Grandpa's mercy had consequences. Sarah's voice catches slightly. And if he'd killed that boy? Helen says gently, different consequences. William taught you something, Sarah. It's not about distance. It's not even about when to shoot or not shoot. Then what? It's about living with your choices. He lived with his. You'll live with yours. And both of you chose with love. Love for the people you protect. Helen's hand reaches toward the screen, as if she could touch Sarah's face through the pixels. That's what matters, sweetheart. That's what makes the legacy. They talk for an hour. Helen lucid and sharp, asking about the team, about Hayes, about what comes next. When the call ends, when Helen's face disappears, Sarah sits in the silence, stares at the bronze star on her footlocker, at the journal beside it, at the rifle case against the wall. December 2011, Quantico, Virginia. Sarah stands in front of her first class. Scout Sniper School, the most demanding training program in the military. 24 students, 18 men, 6 women. The most female students in any class in the school's history. All of them looking at her with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. She's 27 years old. Some of these students are older. I'm Petty Officer Mitchell, Sarah says. My record shot is 3,247 meters, made it in Afghanistan. September 2011, longest confirmed fought United States military history. The room is silent, impressed, some disbelief still lingering. That's not why you should listen to me. She pulls out the leather journal, worn soft from a lifetime of handling. My grandfather's record was 286 meters, made it in Korea. November 1952. She holds up the journal, but his most important shot was the one he didn't take. The one where he chose mercy over mission. She walks along the front row, making eye contact with each student, shooting his physics, wind speed, air density, bullet drop, Coriolis effect, spin drift. I can teach you all of that. Over the next 12 weeks, you'll learn to calculate everything down to the millimeter. You'll learn to compensate for factors most people never think about. She pauses. You'll become experts in the mathematics of death. She opens the journal, not to read the full entry, but to quote the one line that matters. The hardest shot isn't the longest one. Knowing when not to take it. One student, young Marine, barely 20, raises his hand. Ma'am. With respect, you took the shot, multiple shots. How does that quote apply? Because I made the choice based on judgment, not reflex. Sarah closes the journal. Every time I pulled a trigger, I had calculated, not just the ballistics, but the consequences. Would this shot save American lives? Would not taking it endanger them? Was this the right target? The right moment? The right choice? She sets the journal on the podium. My grandfather chose mercy when mercy was appropriate. A scared kid who made a choice to run instead of fight. I chose justice when justice was necessary. A traitor who had killed 15 Americans and would have killed more. She looks at each face in turn. Both decisions required the same skill, judgment. Over the next 12 weeks, I'm going to teach you to shoot farther than you think possible. I'm going to teach you to calculate variables most people can't even name. I'm going to make you into weapons. Precise, lethal, unstoppable. She pauses, but more than that, I'm going to teach you to think, to judge. To understand that being a sniper isn't about distance, or body count, or breaking records. It's about making the right choice when lives depend on it, because any fool can pull a trigger. It takes wisdom to know when that trigger pull matters. The students lean forward, listening now, really listening. Sarah can see it in their eyes. The shift from skepticism to respect, from doubt to belief, these 24 faces, they will become the next generation. The ones who carry the legacy forward, who understand that shooting is science, but sniping is art. That distance means nothing without judgment, that the weapon is just metal and wood. But the choice is everything. After class, she stands alone on the range. The late afternoon sun paints Virginia in shades of amber. She sets up a target at 2,000 meters. Not the longest shot, but a respectable distance, a distance her grandfather would have appreciated. The Remington 700 feels right in her hands, his rifle, now hers, passed down through blood and training, and the understanding that some legacies are worth carrying. She chambers around. Wind is calm. 5 miles per hour from 3 o'clock. Temperature 72 degrees. Humidity moderate. Altitude negligible compared to Afghanistan. All the variables line up perfectly. She settles into position. Breathing slows. Heart rate drops. The scope's crosshairs find the target with practiced ease. In that moment before the shot, in the stillness that every sniper knows, she hears her grandfather's voice, not memory, Not imagination. Something deeper. You understand now, Sarah. It's not about the distance. It's never been about the distance. It's about making the right choice when it matters most. That's the legacy. That's what I tried to teach you all those summers on the ranch. Sarah smiles. I understand, Grandpa. Finally, she squeezes the trigger. The Remington speaks its truth. 3 seconds of flight. The bullet carves its path through Virginia air, following the mathematics that never lie, obeying the physics that don't care about legacy or honor or the weight of choice. The target rings, dead center. Sarah stands, slings the rifle across her back. Behind her, she can hear the next class forming up. Voices calling out. Equipment being distributed. The sounds of people preparing to learn something that will change them forever. 24 students who will learn to calculate bullet drop and wind drift and Coriolis effect, who will learn to shoot farther than they ever dreamed, who will become the next generation of American snipers. But, more importantly, who will learn judgment, who will understand that the rifle is just metal and wood, that the shot is just physics, but the choice is everything. Sarah walks toward the classroom, toward her students, toward the future she'll help shape. The war will continue. There will always be another threat, another mission, another impossible decision. But there will also be people like Sarah, like her grandfather, people who understand that being a sniper isn't just about the distance you can reach. It's about the wisdom to know when to reach it, and that is a lesson worth passing on. The sun sets over Quantico. The rifle range falls silent. Tomorrow she will teach. Tomorrow a new generation will begin to understand. But tonight she allows herself one moment of peace. One moment to feel the weight of the Bronze Star in her pocket. Memory of her grandfather's journal in her pack. The knowledge that she had honored his legacy, not by surpassing his distance, but by understanding his wisdom. She thinks of Helen, safe in Texas. Memory fading but love constant. She thinks of Rebecca Torres and the 15 others. Their names written in Brennan's message. Their lives ended but not forgotten. She thinks of Cruz, who trusted her when accusations flew, who covered her when she needed eyes. She thinks of Hayes, who gave her the shot when everyone else said impossible. She thinks of Maria Castellano, volunteered because friendship transcends death. And she thinks of Marcus Brennan, who studied a legacy he never understood, who corrupted honor into profit, who died trying to warn them about the real enemy, who, in his final moments, understood all these people, all these choices, all these consequences, rippling across years, across continents, across generations. This is what her grandfather meant. Legacy isn't about records or medals or distance. It's about the people you protect, the values you uphold, and the wisdom you pass on. Sarah Mitchell, 27 years old, petty officer, instructor, sniper, heir to a legacy built on judgment, not distance, steps inside the classroom. The door closes behind her. The light spills golden across the floor, and in that light, that moment, she can almost see him. Her grandfather, William Mitchell, gunnery sergeant, Marine Scout sniper, Korea 1952, standing at the back of the room, arms crossed, face weathered by decades in war, smiling, proud, because his granddaughter finally understands. The hardest shot isn't the longest one. It's knowing when to take it. And Sarah Mitchell, she knows.